Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome tonight. Sim, thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So I came across a video of a black woman talking about her experience, probably growing up in white community and also working with white people, and how when you stop tap dancing for them, like it's a problem, and that when you are in the choir, everything actually as a black person working with them is usually a problem because they want to read your face, they want to know what is going on, they want to be able to be the one in control of everything. And like somebody was like, when you are in white space, don't talk out loud, don't get upset when treated badly. No matter how bad you are being treated, you really still have to smile and act like you don't have to frown, because why would you be frowning when you are with them? Only speak properly, smile constantly. At last, move out of their way and yield, to them. And that is what it is. As a black person, you don't get your space when you are not talking, especially at places of work. You get a query from HR asking why your colleagues are not, why you are not talking, why you are keeping to yourself, why, like, are you not supposed to have a personal space when you are at work? All these things are the things black people go through, and they think like you are going to continue to tap dance for them for as long as it lasts. See, there is a limit to what people can take. There is a limit to what people can tolerate. And when they get up that limit, trust me, the next you see, I am not going to guarantee you what is going to happen and all that. And when you show up in a predominantly all white environment, you feel everyone start acting like, they act so differently. And for a few, not just a few minutes, like all the time, constantly. But you know what? Let's get into this video.
A lot of white people only know how to be friends with happy black people. They hate it when you stop tap dancing. They hate it when you're not performing at your highest level, because that may be how they met you. And so that's how they see you, strong. There's truly an intolerance for black people's emotions in white spaces because you perceive them to be more intense and you perceive them to be threatening. And I don't have time to tell you why that's a microaggression. There's certain things I can only tell people one time. After that, I am going to have to vie for my humanity to get your respect. And I don't know how people don't see that that's not fair. I also think that white people don't consider that you're masking sometimes, or a lot of the time. When you're in predominantly white environments, it doesn't mean I'm not used to it. I grew up in PWIs. It doesn't mean it's not tiring. But there's not space for that, because in the status quo that is whiteness and silence and complacency and assumption, in order for me to feel fully human, I will have to disrupt that sometimes. And I just know there's a really big intolerance for me to interpret things differently, to feel uncomfortable, to be honest. And it doesn't need to come from a place of intention, but there is a certain time where I have to say to you, listen, I'm not being paid to tap dance right now. But that will be seen as aggressive. I love it here. It's a really big intolerance for black people's emotions to take up space in a way that maybe people aren't used to. Maybe they've never had to do it before. I don't, is that my responsibility? It might not be responsibility, but I'm starting to feel that is what is required of me, to feel like people aren't looking at me like I'm a problem. But maybe I am a problem. I'm sure I am a problem. When it comes to what is status quo, what is, again, complacency, we need to understand that the environments and cycles and systems have a natural tone that isn't going to be welcoming to people who are maybe not small, thin, white, whatever. If you can only be friends with a black person when they're super happy and performing in a way that you're used to your other friends performing, that's not tolerance. That's not space. And it's not about like people being racist or not racist. It's about the way you have learned to be as a person exists in whiteness that I don't have access to. And it'd be nice if you could acknowledge that once in a while. It shouldn't be expected of the black person to always perform to the level and the tap dancing and the certain like smiles and outward projection of what it means to be like comfortable in a white society. Nobody ever considers it doesn't look the same for me. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I think specifically when you're raised in a predominantly white environment, you might be used to conforming to that. But when you are around people that you should feel comfortable with, you want to be able to take that mask off. And once you do, you're going to see how those people really see you when you are your honest self. And it's so interesting. You could be the most authentic, honest version of yourself, and they'll say, who is this version of you? I only know the tap dancer. requiring a black person to explain why their experience is different than yours in a room that you were in, like it couldn't possibly be true because you were there, is negating their whole experience as a black person and their ability to interpret things that start off as microaggressions but end up in danger. Because when we're looking for microaggressions, it's for safety reasons. The same way you as a woman, when you say to your man, there's this little thing that bothers me and I know you don't get it, but I need you to care that it bothers me. That's the space. You cannot understand it, but you should care that it bothers me. And unfortunately, a lot of times that little space isn't given because it's too much of a disruption of the status quo. And for me to act like that's valid or fair to me is stripping my humanity. And you can disagree with that, but I don't know how to explain to you. I'm not a tap dancer in a cage. I need fucking air. I need oxygen. Once your presence starts to threaten their relationship with the white man who may or may not hold the keys to their industry, and you understand that you and your black presence and your need to vie for your own humanity might come in the way of their social status, their seat at the table, and you start to see something in their eyes of they will sacrifice you for that because it's in their blood. It's in their blood. And this is why, like, when we're talking about social settings and white people think that they know how you are meant to behave and you are ostracized for not behaving with the status quo, it's like, I always think about the impetus for black people to run away and laugh or run away as they're laughing is to not get caught by their slave owners. But you can't say to them, are you thinking about the blood of my ancestors and how it makes me behave versus how the blood of your ancestors makes you behave in a primarily white space that to me would feel like a threat and to you feel like home? You're aggressive. Angry.
You know why it's so hard for a lot of white people to admit our complicity and active hand in racism and white supremacy and understand that systemic racism is real? Here's one of the reasons. Because if you as a white person begin to understand and believe that, that means your mom and dad were wrong. Your grandparents were wrong. Your teachers were wrong. Everything you've learned about history is wrong. The shit you've heard about cops is wrong. The entire foundation of this country that you know it to be, that has been taught to you, you will realize you were lied to. Everything you know about the criminal justice system, schools, banks, fucking housing, credit, food deserts, the medical field, the mental health field. You're going to realize everything that you were taught about that shit if you've never addressed white supremacy or racism. You're going to understand internally, if you start to unpack that, all that shit was wrong. You've been lied to. This is why so many white people want to return to this perceived right to comfort, because it creates an internal panic. When you realize your entire fucking foundation was formed and created and uplifted upon lies, white supremacy, white violence, racism, dehumanization, you're going to deconstruct all of that shit if you choose to. And what you're going to be left with is yourself. And then you have to understand, I have to understand the complicity in the active hand in the role that I carry out in racism, in white supremacy. And instead of saying, holy fuck, dude, I was wrong about everything. Everything was a lie. Everything, race really does play into everything. Instead of doing that, the gut reaction is to push back against people who have the Black, Indigenous, persons of color experience in this country, to push back against them and tell them that they don't know their history, that their life experience is wrong. You see how that's not logical at all? I always say, once you start pulling the string on the sweater, everything will fucking unravel. And that leads to an identity crisis, which will force you back into being comfortable, so you don't have to address yourself, so you don't have to address your family members, so you don't have to address your friends or your churches. Or it will cause you to radically change to a point where you might lose everything, but will find your humanity instead. Choose your humanity. Choose to walk away from whiteness forever.
This is all I got from this video, and a very big shout out to this beautiful woman, also the man, also they all nailed it. The reality is that when you are not performing, when you are not even, like, there are a few threatening even when you are not even talking or speaking. I mean, they take it very personal. Like, why are you not supposed to be speaking? Why is she not talking? Why is she quiet? Why is she, like, something like that? And when, okay, now I experience things like this too, like on daily basis at work. Like, they see you all smile. They think every day you are supposed to smile. Like every day you are supposed to, like, hey, what's up? What's popping? It is not every day. It doesn't happen every day. And then when you are not, like, when you are on your own, then you get reports like they say that you aren't talking and you aren't speaking. Must I speak to you at every point in time? Must I talk to you at any time I get? Does it mean that I do not have my personal, I shouldn't have my personal space because I am working with you, right? So I shouldn't have my time off from you people because I'm at work with some people that are insecure, that feel like I am supposed to put up an attitude every time just to entertain you people or just to make you people happy and the rest of it. No, it doesn't work that way, And they hate it when you are not tap dancing. Like, you are supposed to be tap dancing for them all the time. You are supposed to do as, oh no. It's really exhausting, like, especially being the quiet person at work as a Black person in the midst of all these people. Or it's actually sucks when you are, like, minding your business and wanting to, because you definitely you are going to get so many reports about you having an attitude, because each time a Black person is not talking or not speaking, you actually have an attitude, because you have an attitude. It is an attitude. See, the truth is that they really need to they have a whole lot of work to do. They have a whole lot of work to do, because it is not me, man. Enough of that performance. I ain't putting up a show for anybody just to entertain you and then go back. I am gonna squeeze that face when I feel like squeezing it, and when you do something and it is not right by me, I am just gonna blank you people and move on. I remember sometime, I think that was years ago. My boss, my boss, she is actually my family friend. So she left her kids with me because she was traveling, and she said she's gonna come back the next day because it was like a road trip. And guess what? This woman spent 3 or 4 days. And each time she calls me and I am not smiling, she's like, why are you not smiling? Ma'am, am I supposed to continue to smile even when you told me that you're coming back the next day and you've left your kids for me for how many days to spend to be with me? Like, how is that supposed to be funny? That is to tell you how corny some people are. I am sorry, this is actually my experience. Living 2 kids, 2 or 3, yes. Tell me you are coming back the next. So I have to go to work, and I was like, struggling because they also have to go to school, and I have to come back from school, get their food ready, make sure they do their homework. So, like, and you're calling me to ask me, why am I not smiling? And that was the last time. They have attitude, and I'm sorry. And they will turn around and tell you that you are the one that got attitude. I am going to draw the cut in here. Let me know what you all think. You can see you all in my next video. Bye for now.